Look to your neighbor, say, neighbor, the Lord will provide. Church, have you ever needed something and you didn't know how you were going to get it? Have you ever been trying to find something that you needed and didn't know where it was? Have you ever been in a situation that if God didn't come through for you, you didn't know what you were going to do? Well, if you have been in these situations, you have a testimony. If you have been in these situations, you have a story to tell. If you have been in these situations, somebody needs to know what happened. Why? Because if you have been there, you know the truth. If you have been there, you know exactly what happened. And how many know nobody can tell your story better than you can? And if you have been there, you can declare like Abraham, the Lord will provide. For in our text, we find Abraham in one of the worst situations of his entire life. We find him in the middle of one of the worst situations imaginable. God told Abraham to go to Mount Moriah, the mountain in the land of Moriah, and sacrifice his son Isaac as an offering. God told Abraham to go and offer up his son Isaac as a sacrifice. You talking about a test of faith. God gave Abraham the opportunity to prove his faith in God. How many know that God will allow us to go through some trials and some tests to prove our faith in him? Somebody here today is going through a trial or a challenge time right now, and God has allowed you to go through this situation to prove your faith in God. God knows you have the faith, but you don't know you have the faith. God knows you have the faith, but your spouse doesn't know how much faith you have. God knows you have the faith, but your children need to see that faith. God knows you have the faith, but your family, your friends, your co-workers need to know and see that faith. God knows you have the faith, but Satan doesn't know that you have the faith. So God will allow us to go through some trials and some tests in this life to prove our commitment to him, to prove our devotion to him, to prove our reverence to him, to prove our loyalty to him, to prove our love for him, and to prove our obedience to him. God will allow, somebody say God will. God will allow us to go through some tests and some challenges to prove it. Talk is cheap. Prove it. I hear what you say. Prove it. I know what you think. Prove it. Why? Because everybody has faith until it's time to have faith. Everybody's faithful until it's time to be faithful. Everybody's strong until it's time, y'all don't hear me, to be strong. But when trouble comes, when challenges come, when tests come, you find out what's really there. You find out how strong you really are. You find out how much faith you really have. You find out how faithful you really are. Why? Everybody is faithful and committed during the sunshine. But let me see what you are going to do when the storm comes. Let me see what you're going to do during the rain. Let me see what you're going to do within the storm of life, the trouble of life. Job, I know you love me when you were the wealthiest man in the East. Yeah. But let's show Satan that you will love me when you lose it all. And here Abraham had been given the test of his life. God told Abraham to sacrifice his only son on Mount Moriah. Sacrifice his son. Sacrifice, y'all hear me? Sacrifice his son. Can you imagine? Lord, I love my son. I love my daughters. Can you imagine to God telling you to sacrifice your child? But here's the question. God says, who is first in your life? Me or your child? Who has preeminence in your life? Me or your son? Who are you more willing to please? Me or your son? Who do you love the most? Me or your son? And when Abraham was faced with that challenge, he chose to obey God at the expense of his own son. Question, are you willing to obey God at the expense of your own child? Who are you willing to please, God or your child? Who are you willing to serve, God or your child? So if your child wants to do something that God condemns, what do you say? If your child wants to go somewhere God says don't go, what do you say? If your child wants to stay where God says don't stay, what do you say? Who do you submit to? The will of God or the will of your child? And whoever you submit to becomes the God of your life. Oh, Abraham chose God over his son Isaac. And Abraham, Isaac, and two of his Abraham servants packed their stuff and headed to Mount Moriah. I thank God that we got some fake folks in the house, some parents in the house that got their priorities straight. I thank God we got some parents in the house that know that, baby, I love you, but I ain't gonna help you sin. If you gonna sin, you gonna sin on your own. I ain't spend a dime to help you sin. And when they left, why? Because Abraham chose God over child. When they left, Abraham put the wood for the sacrifice on Isaac's back. Y'all, Isaac had to carry his own wood. And Abraham carried the fire and carried the knife in his hand. And as they were traveling, Isaac spoke up, Daddy, my father, I got a question. I see the fire. That's in your hand. I see the wood. It's on my back. But Daddy, where is the lamb? Can you imagine Abraham? But Abraham said, my son, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. And church, that's the kind of faith we have to have. I don't know how it's going to work out, but God will provide a lamb. I don't know how it's going to do it, but God will provide a lamb. I don't know how the bill is going to be paid, but God will provide a lamb. I don't know how we're going to make it through this season, but I know that God will provide a lamb. Son, I don't understand what's going on and why this has to happen this way, but what I do know is that God will provide a lamb. So when they get to Mount Moriah, Abraham built an altar, bound his son Isaac, and laid him on the altar to be saved. Now, if I had time, I would talk about the love, respect, and admiration that Isaac had towards his father that would cause him to submit to his father. I would talk about the type of father Abraham had to be and was in order for Isaac to trust him and his God. How many know it's important to be the kind of parent that your child will trust you and your God? Because Abraham lived so that his son could see God operating in his life. And when a child could see God operating in your life, they will trust you and your God. But as Abraham raised his hand to slay his son, the angel of the Lord spoke up, Abraham, Abraham. Abraham said, here am I. Don't lay your hand on the boy. Don't hurt him in any way. For now I know, and now you have proven that you truly reverence God. You have not withheld your only son from me. And Abraham looked and saw a ram caught in the thicket. by his horns. So Abraham took the ram and sacrificed the ram instead of his son. And Abraham named that place Jehovah Jireh. Abraham named that place Jehovah Jireh. Say Jehovah Jireh. Abraham named the place Jehovah Jireh. Why? Because the Lord will provide. Oh, the Lord will. No matter what is going on in your life, the Lord will provide. But let me tell you something that blew my mind, it blessed my heart. The Hebrew phrase that is the Jehovah Jireh is a combination of two words. Jehovah, which means the proper name for God or Lord. Jireh, which means to see or division or to look at. And the words combination mean God sees, the Lord sees. And I love Strong's dictionary the way Strong puts it, because it helps us help us to see it a little deeper. Because this definition says Jehovah will see to it. God will see to it. The Lord, in other words, the Lord sees what you need before you need what you need. The Lord sees what you need before you knew what you were going to need. And he sees it and he already provides it before you get to it. The Lord will provide. The Lord will see to it. That ram, I need somebody to know that ram didn't just show up on there. The ram was there all the time. The ram was already in the thicket. That ram was in the thicket when Abraham and Isaac got on the mountain. But Abraham didn't see the ram until he passed the test. Oh, good God Almighty. And God wants somebody to know this morning that the provision has already been made for you. But God has allowed you to go through this season to prove your faith, to show God that he is first place in your life. Because when folk testify, we like to say first giving honor to God who is first in my life. Just because you say he's first doesn't mean he's first. God will allow us to go through some trials and some tests to prove who is really first in our life. That's why I tell you, you got to be careful what you say out your mouth. You got to be careful when you testify, because God is listening to everything you say. Your ram is in the thicket. Your ram is in the bush. You have a ram in the bush waiting. And just because you don't see it, don't mean that the ram ain't there. Abraham didn't see the ram until he passed a test. And you won't see your ram until you pass your test. Provision has already been made. A way has already been made. He knows about what you need before you need it. He knew that this was going to happen in your life. He knew it was going to happen before you found out about it. He saw it coming before you did. And he's prepared a ram just for you. Prepared a ram for your situation, and will see to it. And he 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 will see to it that you will have what you need. He will see to it that you got food on your table. He will see to it you got clothes on your back. He will see to you that you have what you need. He will see to it that you get where you gotta go. He will see to it that your bills are paid. He will see to it that your body is healed. He will see to it that your prayers answered. He will see to it that your joy is filled. See to it that your needs are met. See to it that your head is lifted. See to it that your burden is lifted. See to it that your marriage is mended. See to it that your sins are forgiven. See to it that your life is blessed. Tell your neighbor, he'll see to it. The Lord will see to it. the Lord will provide. He'll see to it. And when I look around and take inventory of my own life, I can testify to the fact the Lord will provide. When I think about how far the Lord has brought me from, I can truly say that the Lord will provide. The Lord made a way. The Lord made provision. The Lord provided. The Lord saw to it. He made sure that I had what I needed. Is there anybody in the house? Can I get a witness? Is there anybody in the house that can say that the Lord will provide? Is there anybody up in here that can look over their life and to say, the Lord saw to it. The Lord saw to it. When I didn't see it coming, the Lord saw to it. He made a way out of no way. The Lord saw to it. He made sure. I didn't know I needed extra money, but when I got my check, I remembered the overtime, and the overtime paid the bill. God sees, already knows what God will see to it. For as Abraham had to offer up Isaac to show his love for God, God offered up his only begotten son to show his love for us. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth on him should not perish but have everlasting life. God will provide. And I was in a terrible state and state of sin. I was a sinner on my way to a burning hell. But before I was even born, God saw what I was going to need before I even got here, and sent Jesus to take my place for my sin, sent Jesus down on the cross in my place for my sin, and Jesus died for my sin and your sin. He died on Friday, but early on Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hand, and because he got up, a provision has been made for us. God saw it before we knew it, and because he got up, God made a way for us to be forgiven. He saw to it that we could be forgiven. He saw to it that we could be set free. He saw to it that we could be delivered. He saw to it that we could be cleansed. God saw to it that we could start over again. God saw to it that we could be restored. He sent Jesus to see to it. God saw to it and raised Jesus from the dead. God saw to it and accepted Jesus Christ. All you got to do is accept Jesus Christ as a Lord and Savior of your life, and God will see to it. All you got to do is surrender your heart and your life to God, and God will see to it. If you want God to see to your life, then you give your life to him. Let me say that again. If you want God to see to it, give it to him. Now listen, when you give it to him, don't tell him what to do. See, that's what's wrong with us. We so busy telling God what to do and how we want stuff to go. I want it to be blue. I want it to be blue and yellow. When you give it to God, let him have it, and he'll see to it. Now listen, if you have somebody working with you and they give you an assignment to do, don't you want, if they give you an assignment to do, you want to be able to do it, right? Listen, and no, don't give me an assignment and then worry me about death and I can't do nothing. Give it to me and go on. I got it. Can I get a witness? Anybody like that? Just give me my assignment and leave me alone. Because I can do my assignment if you leave me alone. But if you're going to be up in my business, you're going to mess up my assignment because I can't think because you're in the way. Can I get a witness? That's the way we do God. Lord, Lord, fix it. Lord, bless. But no, wait a minute, don't do it that way. No, that ain't right, God. That ain't right. That ain't the right way. How many know when you give it to him, he'll see to it? Because here's the problem. The reason that we don't get out of the way is because we want it done our way. And the problem is, God ain't thinking about our way. He's thinking about his way. And not only is he thinking about his way, where you're looking out for what's best for you, he's looking out for what's best for everybody. Well, you looking out, this is what's good for me. This is what's good. No, God said it might not be good. But how many know sometimes you got to sacrifice what's good for you to make sure everybody good? How many know if you ain't got but $5, you can't spend the whole $5 on you if you got a whole family to feed? You use $5 to feed everybody. You don't use the $5 to just feed you. You got to use the $5 to feed it. Make sure. So you got to eat $1 worth so everybody can have $1 worth. Let the church say. But when you give it to God, and he will see to it that everybody, your children, everybody is blessed. You might want the 2-seat car, but you can't carry 5 people in the 2-seat car. So if you locked in on a 2-seat car, then you're going to be miserable. Because now you got to borrow somebody else's car. Every time you got to carry everybody else. But how many know if you give it to God, God will say, look here, I'm going to bless you with the 5-seater. Matter of fact, let me give you the 7-seater so you can carry everybody. Now, Lord, no, I want the 2. I have been dreaming about this 2-seater all my life. I want a 2-seater so I can show how fast I can drive. What your crazy self. See, God, if you give it to God, he'll see to it. Lord, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to do it your way because I know you're going to see to it. Lord, I ain't sure that how it's going to turn out, but what I do know is you're going to see to it. And for everybody in the house who's had a mother or a father that's had your back, you know what it means when somebody sees to it. When you was hungry, your parents saw to it. When you had to go to school, your parents saw to it. They made sure that you had what you need. But I want you to know that there's a God who will see to it, who will take care of you, who will make a way for you. But you got to pass the test. And it's you dissing God, doing it your way, then want God to clean it up. No, be like Abraham. Be like Abraham. Be willing to obey God at the expense of all others. Lord, I'm going to do it your way if I got to go by myself. Now, I ain't telling you to go take your child and try to put on no altar. But I'm trying to help you understand that there's a time in your life that even your child has to submit to God. When it comes down to being, if you're going to roll with me, baby, you're going to do it God's way. Now, if you grown and you bad, go find you somewhere else to live. Pay your own, go ahead. I love you. But how many know that God will see to it that you have everything that you need? Come on, give God praise. Let's all stand. There may be somebody here today unsaved, unchurched. If you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, if you want the Lord to see to it, it starts with you surrendering your heart, and you've done it your way long enough. You've done it your way long enough. It's time for you to turn it over to Jesus so he can see to it. Is there one? If there one, won't you come and meet me at the altar? Is there one this morning?